I think we can all agree that diversity and inclusion is a very hot topic in HR for all the right reasons. If we're going to have productive and innovative companies, we need diversity in our employee base. Equally, we need to make sure that our assessment process doesn't discriminate against somebody or exclude somebody for any reason other than their suitability or fit to role. So we need to make it fair, okay? We need to level the playing field. We need to recognize that different groups may need different levels of support to compete fairly in the assessment process. An example here would be people completing tests, ability tests, etc., who perhaps have dyslexia, would need more time to complete the test. This is a reasonable request. Your vendor will actually advise you on this when you bring the assessment in. You need to make sure you create the opportunity for them to raise that issue without feeling that they're being shamed or something like that, so that we can make sure that the playing field is fair. We also need to make sure that we design the assessment process to manage against bias in decision making. We don't do that just by training our assessors. We do that by actively reviewing the feedback and the engagement that we're getting from the candidates to make sure that we're not seeing candidates of a certain ethnicity or other dimension dropping out in the process. And equally, we're not seeing any bias in the decision making against those candidates. It's not enough to train. You need to actively manage and monitor to make sure that there's no bias in your process. What you must always do, though, is make sure that you don't compromise on the consistency or the objectivity required in the process. So if you're flexing something or changing something to level the playing field or to manage against bias, it needs to be done with good reasoning, documented reasoning that everybody understands and agrees to. As well as making sure that our assessment process is set up to support diversity and inclusion, we need to make sure we're driving the engagement and the informing of our candidates. We need to make sure that our assessment process reflects and informs on diversity and inclusion throughout the process. We might do this at the beginning with marketing literature or presenting information or statistics about the groups that are represented within our organization. As we go through the process, we need to make sure that if somebody is coming from a diverse background, they get the opportunity to engage with somebody working in the company from that same background, so they can understand what life is like from somebody who is effectively similar to them and the experience that they have had. We also need to consider the expectations of different groups as they go through the process and deliver against these. I'll give you a great example. I recruit in the Middle East. And as we have faced the challenges of COVID and also increasingly started to leverage the use of video interviewing, we've encountered some concerns and objections from Muslim candidates, particularly Muslim ladies who don't necessarily want to be filmed because it can be felt to be haram. How have we handled that? We've always informed them that it's something that we will build into the process, made sure that they're okay with it, and if they're not, we've given them a different way to engage with us so that we don't exclude them.